1, 2, 3, 4.
Good morning, honey.
Good morning, sweetie. Full disclosure, this is the holiday edition, the not Labor Day.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. Yeah, okay, I'll get it straight. Memorial Day edition. It is Monday. So we had a whole lot of stuff going on yesterday and weren't able to get the podcast recorded and published. But today is a good day for that.
It is.
Today is a good day to honor our veterans, which has nothing to do with politics. It's just honoring the people who have made the ultimate sacrifice, those that did not come back. Veterans Day honors those who did come back.
And that are still walking the side of the earth.
That are still walking around, or some that have passed, long since passed, but those that made it back, either whole or broken or otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, but today we were wanting to talk about, we've done a lot of work on ourselves physically and mentally, and our mind shift and mindfulness and meditation and a whole lot of stuff, whole lot of what we call upgrades, like Genie 2.0 and Dennis 2.0. And it is a difficult decision as to whether to share this with other people outside of this podcast, friends and family and that sort of stuff. Excuse me. My opinion is it is something that really neat and cool that we have found, like a recipe or a new restaurant or something that we have done that is absolutely fantastic for our lives and is worthwhile sharing. We were talking about this the other day, Jeannie and I were, and you were a bit more hesitant to share it than I was.
Yeah, well, you wanted to turn on one of our podcasts that we listen to around mindset, and while our friends were in the car, because we were driving up to the Mushroom Festival.
In Mount Shasta.
In Mount Shasta, McLeod.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find when we do share, it almost feels not like bragging, but I think there's a touch of that in there about we found this, we want to scream it from the rooftops, and we do. This is what really started our podcast around good relationships, sharing our lives. And people that want to listen to this they will come to this and they will want to take a moment to kind of listen to what we have to say because we have something important to say usually. Mindset is one of those things. And I do want to share out those things, but I don't want, I'm struggling a little bit because just because I think it's great doesn't mean I need to force it on to my friends. They need to see that it's great. Part of me feels like that I have failed. I have worked on many parts of my mindset, but I have a dieter's mindset still because I'm still working on getting those things dialed in, and they're not all the way dialed in. We work to surround ourselves with people that have good mindset and that are good people, and that we have an attraction of people wanting to be around us sometimes because we are good people. But I don't want it to feel forced. I want someone to say, hey, I feel like we click. I want to do what you're doing. Tell me a little bit more. And then that opens the door to, well, I've got a couple podcasts. Would you like to hear them? Maybe we can listen to them on our road trip. But not once has that happened with our best friends at all. They don't ask, because oftentimes we kind of,
We keep our light under a bushel basket.
I just feel like there's a couple things I feel like when you're working on a new plan, like self-care involves a disciplined approach and taking care of yourself in the moment. Are we perfect at it? No, absolutely not. We are not perfect at it. Are we working on it every day? Yeah, there's parts of the day where we work on it, and there's parts of the day where it gets put on the back burner. That's human nature. But by good self-care, I almost feel like I need to put my head down and focus on that. And if somebody asks me, then I'll share what I'm doing. It's not. I don't feel like I need to shake someone's shoulders until their ears fall off and tell them what they need to do. And that's kind of what it feels like I'm doing. If I'm there in my car and I'm deciding to put on a podcast, they're going to listen to this regardless if they like it or not. Because they're going to say yes. Sure, we'll listen to that. And then we listen to it, and they're not deep in it like we are. They didn't go out asking for this. They didn't go out trying to find this and learn about it. You're putting them smack dab in the middle of our journey instead of in the beginning. It's a decision. It's a decision.
Well, there's a couple things I'd like to unpack. Backtracking a little bit, you said a minute ago you felt like you have failed. What does failure mean to you? What is your definition of failure?
Well, I haven't dialed in my self-care.
That's not what I asked. What is your definition of failure? If you were to put it in a dictionary, what is your personal definition of failure?
Failure is quitting.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, have you quit?
No.
Okay. I'm not trying to shake your shoulders till your ears fall off. I'm just trying to get around, unpack what you've said. You felt like you have failed, but it is a nonlinear progress.
Right.
You can't see, people in the audience can't see my hands moving. I'm moving on an upward stroke of linear, like on an XY graph. It is nonlinear. It goes in fits and starts, kind of like evolution does. Evolution is not a straight line from one organism to the other.
I understand that.
It's punctuated equilibrium, and that's our progress has been punctuated equilibrium. We'll make changes, and we'll be the same for a little bit. We'll make more changes, and I'll use the word improve, because that's what we're trying to do, trying to make our lives more awesome. Correct?
Right.
Okay, and then we'll not exactly coast for a little bit, but we won't feel like there's any changes. But then there'll be a change. We'll get an aha moment and have a change.
Right.
So I do not believe that either one of us has failed in our progress towards being better, because that your progress of being better only stops the day you die. Should only stop the day you die.
Right.
And I believe that is part of our journey. I don't think we failed at all. And as far as point number 2, I don't believe that we would be forcing on anybody. If we offer somebody a piece of pie and they say no, okay, fine. But at least we offered. And instead of them barging in the house and say, hey, I heard you had pie. They may or may not know that we have pie. They may or may not know.
Our best friends do know we have pie.
Okay.
Our best friends do know that we're on this pathway, because we talk about it a lot. We talk about our mindset. We question each other sometimes on mindset. Are we perfect examples? No. There's still a lot of work to be done. But we're in the car, and I don't want to turn on a podcast and say, well, I know you've heard we're on this journey. Well, here we go. This is an hour-long podcast. Enjoy it. And then we don't talk. Our goal was to be with friends and talk with friends and have time together, not to inundate. Now, on the other hand, if they would have said, hey, this is a great opportunity to share a couple of those podcasts that you've told us about. Great. You know?
Of course, that may not be on their forefront of their mind.
No.
And I don't think either one of us is wrong in our positions.
No.
I think there's probably a middle ground somewhere.
Sure.
It's something that I think it would be really cool to share with people and bring it up in a conversation. Say, hey, would you like to listen to XYZ?
So tell me about the points that you would share with someone
About mind shift? Our
your journey.
I would say when we started, because we started going to the gym and we started to listen to Jason Seib right around the same time. Mm-hmm. But we had been working on this even before that. I had been studying and reading books on psychology, trying to figure out how people tick, what makes them tick. Why do they behave the way they do? Of course, some people, it's like predicting the weather. You can only go so far in your predictions and your analysis. But we started on this tangent or this inflection point. If you look at a graph, an inflection point is where the line makes a bend and goes one way or the other. It's called inflection point. I would say that for us, and our progress to be better human beings and more happy probably started late June, early July, when we started going to the gym and listening to Jason Seib right around the same time. Because a lot of the stuff he was saying, I hadn't heard being put in one place. He doesn't use the word stoicism very often, but basically that he has read a lot of books on Stoics, just like the ones that I'm reading. If you don't know what the word stoic means, look it up. It doesn't mean keep a stiff upper lip and endure pain. That's a completely different word, different thing altogether. But I think our inflection point, our change in our path and our journey, which fortunately we are on the same page. Imagine how tough it would be if only one of us was doing this. And how far would you get? How your motivation factor, what would it look like? Your dedication to it it'd be really, really tough for only one of us to be on board.
Well, I've said that all along in everything we do.
Yeah.
Basically, everything we do, when we do it together, gets done more efficiently, gets more attention from each of us. We tend to complement each other more, not in words, but in our lives. I bring out some of the things that I do. You say, well, I'm going to try that too, or you do the same, and I say, well, I'm going to try that too. Like, we have a very much open mindset and open heart, mind, and soul, really, to be able to do that. And not all couples have that. In fact, I would say it's a very low percentage of couples that work together the way we do. But I think also you weren't on board in the beginning. This really actually started, in my humble opinion, besides the mindset stuff, the change in lifestyle and the change in how we're going to make those changes in our lives started back in 2006 when you moved in with me. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, I've been working on this and I need to keep working on this, and this is the way it's going to go.
No more Dr. Pepper and Hot Pockets.
No more Dr. Pepper and Hot Pockets. I don't buy soda. And that was the beginning. And you're like, okay, I'm on board with that. Now, I don't know if you would go get a Dr. Pepper when I'm not around or not.
Today? No, it would make me sick. If
No,
I tried to drink,
back then.
Oh, back then? I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I know we switched to from that to Snapple, from Dr. Pepper to Snapple, and Snapple has a crap ton of sugar in it.
Yeah, it does.
Then we switched to V8 Splash,
Right.
which is still feeding the sugar dragon.
But we're getting you going in the right direction.
Yeah, getting both of us.
Yeah. And well, I didn't drink any of that stuff. That was all for you. I every once in a while I would have a Snapple, but I don't really care for sweet tea, so I would make regular tea with no sugar in it. My sugar dragon doesn't come out in a drink. It comes out in bakery goods. So I have one. She's very much alive, and I have to keep her at bay most times. But she comes out sometimes with a vengeance, with stress. And sometimes she works her way around the sugar things and does carbohydrates, because in your body, carbohydrates turn to sugar, and she knows that. And she figures out how she can get that rush. Because, I've been marijuana free for 28 years this year, and tobacco free for 30 years this year. So I have those are big milestones for me. But I took, those addictive behaviors and it moved towards food. And so I don't use it all the time, but it really comes out when I'm stressed or trying to get stuff done or meet big deadlines and stuff. I definitely do that. With that being said, one day I come home with a recipe, a whole week's worth of recipes on the keto diet. And do you remember?
Yeah, I rebelled. Oh, I can't do the keto diet. It'll put you into ketogenic acidosis, and that's bad, and that'll kill you, and blah, blah, blah. And I hadn't done the research yet. But
Right.
once I said, okay, let's take a look at this. You've brought me around to a lot of different things, like making our own dog food is the most recent example. You said, let's make our own dog food. I go, screw that. That's too much work. Imagine if we have to cook a 5-gallon thing of dog food every week. Imagine the work involved. I don't have time for that crap.
But who's now making their own dog food?
Now we figured out. But actually what I did, I calmed down and I said, okay, let's think this all the way through. How exactly would we do this? Let's look up recipes. Let's look up ingredients. I have a whole piece of paper over here with the cost of ingredients per cup or per ounce or per pound.
Right.
And the locally sourced stuff like the canned pumpkin. I don't want to dive too much into the dog food
Right.
thing.
That's not the point.
But you introduced it and you brought me around. And that is, kudos to you. Good for you. You're able to do it.
That's how we do everything in this family.
I think
You do it to me.
I do it to you. Yeah, I bring you around to certain things that I would like to see happen.
Mm-hmm.
And these are, not going down the wrong path. Hey, have you ever tried crack? Here, try this. It's really great.
No.
No, but also in a second part of the question you answered. A question you asked was, what is my opinion or the definition of the mindset shift that we have done? I think understanding that you can control your own thoughts. Because a lot of people say, well, these thoughts enter my head and this thing stresses me out. And those people and this people in that car and the guy cut me off and ruined my day. Finger pointing. Right. But there's only one person in control, okay? Listen, there's only one person in control of your thoughts, and that's you.
That's right.
And you have to take control of your own thoughts. Mm-hmm. I'm shaking my hands for emphasis here. I tap the microphone for emphasis. There's only one person in control of your thoughts. So that begs the question, how do you get control of your own thoughts? Well, there's quite a few things.
Meditation.
And don't be a person, don't go down the rabbit hole of, I want to become a person who meditates. We just listened to a podcast saying, don't fall into the trap of trying to become a person who meditates. Just sit down and meditate. Our brand or our version of meditation is not where you sit down and close your eyes and start thinking of stuff. Quite the opposite. You sit down, you close your eyes, nice quiet spot, you put your hands in your lap, minimize distractions, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing. And
even for a minute.
Even for a minute. If you start out for just 60 seconds, set a timer on your phone.
Yeah.
For 60 seconds. And
I started out with 2 minutes.
And then if a thought intrudes, you start thinking about the stuff you got to do today or the stuff that happened yesterday or all the other distractions, you stop them like a record scratch. Stop those things and, okay, that was a thought and I'm going to stop it. And then you get back to focusing on your breath. What does it feel like to breathe? You know, the air going in and out of your mouth or your nose, the air in your lungs. I have tinnitus, ringing in the ears. So I focus on that. I listen to that. Try to focus out all the other sounds like the refrigerator running or a fly buzzing or a car driving by, anything, all the other external distractions. I'm focusing on just what's inside my head. And if another thought intrudes, which it does, that's called a rep, a repetition. It's like when you're weightlifting, you lift that weight 10 times. That's 10 reps. So every time a thought intrudes in your head, you go and you stop it right there, and you get focus, re-centralize, refocus back to your breath, listening and feeling, and it sticking in just inside of your head. Shrink yourself just to the little bitty lemon-sized blob in your head. Okay, that's my elevator speech for meditation.
Well, and slowly you build up your time. You really don't need to use that type of meditation more than 10 minutes each morning. That's what I do. I've shared that with our best friends that we've hung out with before, that's just something that I do. And what happened, I'll tell you what happens. So you're in a conversation with a colleague at work and they say or do something that you don't particularly agree on, or that might cause you to feel a certain way. It causes you to learn how to pause. Learn how to pause and not react, and to really control your brain to not react, to control your brain not to, start figuring out how to respond. Instead, you become a really good listener. That's what that type of meditation does. It's not your typical meditation. Sometimes people hum to get things out of their mind. And if you have to do that in the beginning, by golly, do it. I tend to have colors in my thoughts. So sometimes when I sit down to meditate, I'll see bright blues or bright pink or yellow. And I literally have to turn those off. And I keep going back to my breath. And it's become such a habit for me now to meditate. I've gotten up and sat in here and start meditating and fall back asleep in my chair. Because I'm not allowing any thoughts in, and then boom, I'm back asleep. And then I wake up and I'm like, my alarm will go off. I'm like, oh darn, I missed my meditation. And I'll start it all over again.
That was a good meditation.
Because, I've been doing it for almost a year now. And I'm not a person that meditates. That's not what I'm doing. I'm myself, and I get the pleasure of quieting my brain. It's not like I see myself as a meditator. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be, what is your identity? That people have been working out for on that for
Yeah.
3,000 years. What exactly am I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know who I am.
Yeah.
I think there's another thing around that about you don't have to stop your life to go figure out who you are. You create who you are, and you do that with discipline. You do that by, okay, you want to be a person that has good self-care, that takes good care of you, then you make choices in your moment to do that. You get up, even if your brain tells you, I don't want to go to the gym today. I did 5 miles yesterday. I don't want to go to the gym. You go anyway. You show up. Do you have to lift as hard of weights as you did last week? No. But you show up and you get it done anyway. You're going out to eat with some friends and everybody's having a bunch of fried food and a bunch of desserts and a bunch of this and a bunch of that. And you're trying hard to eat and make good choices in that moment. What am I going to have? I'm going to work on maybe having a salad along with a steak and something that I'm going to feel that sensation of joy of just being with people. Mm-hmm. And then when I leave that moment, I can walk away proud that I make good decisions.
But you didn't cave in.
Right. Because it's easy to cave in. I'm working hard. So the top things that I'm doing in my self-care, just to put it out there, is I am focusing on 3 meals a day with no snacking. That's one of the things I'm doing. I'm working to have no junk food. That means junk food in your definition. Everybody knows what junk food is. Like and if you don't, go Google it. Yeah, it'll tell you what junk food is. I'm working on doing 10,000 steps a day, and that doesn't mean that I have to get out of my house and walk 5 miles a day. Just walk more in your own house. Do more in your own house. Meditating for at least 10 minutes focused on my breath. I do try to take 5 to 10 minutes a day to have unentertained time. Sometimes I have it be part of I'll do my meditation for 10 minutes and then I do unentertained time for 10 minutes. And what that means is I just let my mind, I look at the texture of my brain. I look at my thoughts. I let my mind wander, if you will.
And see what it does. It's like taking your dog off the leash. Okay, what's he going to do?
Right. Every morning after I get everything done in the shower, I turn on a cold shower and brush my teeth, and I use the timer on my toothbrush to have a 2-minute cold shower every day. Today I didn't because you were in the shower and I was away from my toothbrush, so I just guesstimated. I had to take a shower in the other room. Anyway, I foam roll. It says, this is where I don't have things dialed in, and this is where I say that I failed. I don't foam roll every day. Probably should. I don't strength train 3 days a week. I do 2 days a week. I don't always keep junk food out of my diet. I have junk food sometimes. I don't get my 10,000 steps in a day. So that's when I say failed, that it's not that I've quit, it's that I know where I have not put in 100%. Like I'll just do part of this and that's good enough.
Well, I think it is a journey. It is a skill. Like any skills, they require practice and you get better with time. Like first playing guitar, I think I've used this metaphor before. When you first play a guitar, it sounds like crap. You're trying to find the chords, trying to get your fingers to the right thing at the right time, at the right place, and you kind of suck at it. But you're a beginner. But the more you do it, the more you practice, you get better at it. This is no different. Like when you're a baby learning how to walk. At first you suck at it. You fall down a lot. And of course, hopefully you have somebody there encouraging you. Yay, good job, you took a step. And children respond to that kind of positive feedback, as you well know. But I don't think that you should, because you keep using the word failure. I would say that you're still making progress. If you eat some junk food once in a while, no, it's not going to kill you. Is it your intention? No, not necessarily. I think that's why intentions are a whole lot more important than goals. If your goal is to get 10,000 steps a day and you don't make your goal, oh crap, I let myself down. No, you didn't. You had the intention of getting 10,000 steps and you're working towards that 10,000 steps. But if you only got 6,600, but you're on your feet like yesterday. Yesterday, we were on our feet just about the whole darn day, unless we were driving somewhere to go, take care of somebody's animals. Otherwise, we were on our feet the whole day. Did we get 10,000 steps? No, but we were on our feet. We were moving. We weren't sitting on the couch. We were moving the entire day. But we didn't get 10,000 steps. Oh shit, we're failures.
Well, I think we got pretty close to 10,000.
Well, I think the fact is we had the intention and not the goal. I think the intention is a whole lot more important, because with an intention, you will never let yourself down.
Right. So those are just my daily focuses that I am trying to work on. And if you've ever read Atomic Habits, it talks about choose one and practice one. So I've really been practicing on, my meditation and my cold showers. Those are dialed in. Like I do those every single day. And I've missed a couple here and there on vacations, when I'm on vacations with the kids, as far as meditation, not my cold shower, but the meditation. Because when you wake up in a hotel room, you've got, 2 grandkids and 2 daughters with you. And, they wake up the same way I do. Wake up.
Beep, beep, beep,
Yep.
beep, beep, beep.
Yep.
Little chirpy birds.
Yep. So another piece of it, though, is weekly we have a focus thought that we tag during the week. So, for example, this week it is self-deprecation. And it was perfect because when I got to the gym today, there was this gal at the gym, and she had on a bodysuit. She was
a unitard.
Yeah, and at first it was kind of the color of her skin, so I thought she was partly naked. And so I thought, oh my God, they're letting her. Oh, she has something on. It was that moment of,
Well, it's 3 sizes too small, so it's very form fitting.
Yeah, it's form fitting, and her hoo-chas were kind of out there. And this is a meathead gym. This is where a bunch of, weightlifters are walking around, just as much an idiot as she is, because they're so focused on the outward sides of their body and not their insides. And so when I come in, I'm me. I don't look at her and then think ill will of myself. I just don't. I looked at her and said, yeah, she's got a nice body, but I don't know who she is. That doesn't define her.
She might be a rotten human being.
She might be a horrible person. You don't know.
We don't know. And I've never talked to her, so I don't really know.
Yeah. So, and there are people that are like that, are really good people. It's not how you look that makes you a person. It's how you are in your heart and how you are individually that makes you a good person. And so, but self-deprecating, here I am, I'm overweight a little bit. And so, I'm working on that. Definitely can dial it in and do even better, but I live a good life. I'm happy where I am. I've got a good husband. We've got a great family. I feel very blessed beyond words at times. And I'm not going to let anything like that make me look at myself in the mirror and go, oh, Lord. I look at myself in the mirror and go, I'm pumping out 20-pound dumbbells over my head, 30 sets of 10.
Right, 1 in each arm, so that's 40 pounds.
Yeah, and pushing that up above my head. And my trainer's like, oh my God, I can't believe how strong you are. That to me is more important. It's 50 million times important.
He's a good motivator. Of course, that's what we pay him to do.
Yeah.
We pay him to say good stuff.
So self-deprecation a year ago, if I would have saw that, that would have made me want to leave that gym.
Well, think of the first day we actually set foot in there. We really didn't have our the mind work done,
Right.
and we were still in that same pre-change mode. I
Right.
guess you'd say.
Right.
Do you remember what you felt when you first walked in there? Because I don't know if we've told anybody or not in the audience that we may have, that you used to be a trainer. You worked
Yeah.
at Sun Oaks, and you 3 days a week. You and that's an hour each day teaching the class, and you were in great shape, and you probably were, well, undoubtedly were proud of yourself. But as you know, life progressed. You got the COVID shot, which we won't get into that right now, but it was a tremendous setback for you.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a restart when you first set foot in there. I interrupted. Please continue. What did
No,
you,
no.
What did you feel?
I was trying to look back at to see what podcast we talked about the COVID shot. I don't recall that.
Might have been part of your birth story.
I don't know. But there's actually a podcast. We're only on 16, so it's anywhere between 1 and 15. But I talked about that. But I also went into perimenopause or postmenopause.
Full blown menopause.
Yeah. But the COVID shot did that. But anyway, go ahead.
Now, what did you feel when you first walked into the gym?
Shame. Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, that's a one-word answer, but yeah, it's
So I'll tell you the reason behind that. Because I used to be a trainer, and I was in a really good place, and in the last 4 years, I've gained about 50 pounds, and I actually had hurt myself, hurt my hip. I don't remember how I hurt it. So I went to see a physical therapist, and that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, April. No, 1 year ago. So in 2024, I was seeing a physical therapist from about February through April. And then we were getting ready to go on our Kauai trip. And I said, we need to find a gym. And I'm not going back to Sun Oaks because I had a sense of shame.
well, that and you didn't. We had kind of a negative experience with them.
Well, I've had a negative experience at Everyday Fitness too. I'm over there, pushing weights and working out with a trainer, and the owner made a comment to me. Well, you have to do more than just 2 days at the gym. You have to do more stuff outside of the gym. And I just wanted to slug him. Like, how do you know what I'm doing outside of this gym? You have no idea. You have no clue. And he's done that to me twice. Saying, I need to do something outside of the gym. Because I'm not giving him the results and satisfaction that he wants of this girl showing up to his gym. And he's a meathead, in my humble opinion. Do I want to stay there? Probably not. I'll probably end my membership there and end my thing with our trainer there and go somewhere else. I'm not going to stop going to the gym because of an idiot like that. He has no idea the work I'm doing. Zero. He has no idea the mindset that I have. The second time he made that comment to me, and I said, so what am I doing away from the gym? And he goes, well, I don't know. And I said, well, then why would you make a comment like that? And he goes, well, I try to help people where I can. And I said, well, that just didn't feel very helpful, And I think it's important that when we look at people that are showing up for themselves and they're overweight, that we don't make an assumption that they're not trying. If you see someone that is overweight, look at them and say they're probably some of the best people you'll find. Don't judge a person by their book. They can change their cover. They can change things. This is what Jason says. You never say that you're fat. You say you have fat, because fat can be gotten rid of through good mindset and self-care practices, which takes discipline, not motivation. Motivation will only get you so far. Discipline, creating a discipline in your mind, showing up for yourself and know that you're worthy. I struggle oftentimes because I feel so unworthy. There was a quote recently, and oh my gosh, it hit me so hard when I read this quote on social media about being worthy. And I'm going to share it with you here because I think it's so powerful. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find it. But it was really, really good. It says, the guilt you feel for setting boundaries is a sign of how deeply you were trained to abandon yourself. I have put people in front of my own needs and what I do in front of me my whole life. I would give the shirt off my back to someone so that they have what they need, and then I would suffer. That's just been deeply embedded in my soul. Why? I have no idea. But I would sacrifice my own needs and myself for others. And it makes me think about the journey around your diabetes too. I sacrifice and do everything and can tell you exactly what you need to do. But when I turn that on to myself, I'm not worthy enough. I don't need that. And why we do that as women, that's something to research. Why do women do that? And I'm not the only one. I see women do it all the time. They give and give and give, and not realizing that they are important too, that they are worthy. You almost have to stand up and demand, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am worthy. I am a good person. I don't know, as women, we're told to serve. We're told to give.
Well, you're hardwired to nurture also as a human being, because if you look at kids, like first graders, for example, you put a group of boys together and they're going to go play. They're going to go hunt something. They're going to kill something. They're always playing war. They're have the warrior mindset. Put a bunch of girls together, they have little babies, they have horses, they're trying to nurture something or keep something alive.
Right.
So that's hardwired into us.
It is
it's
deep.
It's not really cultural so much as it is, it's the nature versus nurture thing.
Right.
So it's the nature, it's hardwired in our mammalian brain.
Yeah.
So you can't beat yourself up too much about it because, again, that's self-deprecation and we're trying to get away from that. But you can at least tag that thought and unpack it and find out where it's coming from and figure out how to either eliminate it or get around it.
And oftentimes, like if I see a girl at the gym, like we were talking about a moment ago, and there are women I've seen at the gym that I'm like, hey, I'd like to kind of know what they're doing to get in shape like that. I'd like to know what their diet is. I'd like to know, what they're doing for their self-care practices. But most of the time it is not healthy. Like, starving themselves or bulimia or other things.
Well, how would you know unless you asked?
Well, it's kind of a private conversation. Not everybody, if somebody came up and said, hey, what are you doing for your self-care practice? I want to keep doing what you're doing. Which there are people that would love to know that from me.
So would you feel honored that they asked you, or would you feel offended that they asked you?
I think that depends.
If they ask you, wow, you're looking great. What are you doing that's different? Mm-hmm. So how would you feel?
I would say, I don't know, different than what?
Well, you're just looking great. You seem to be a lot more happy than you were before.
I don't know. I just am.
So what are you doing different?
I don't know what you mean. Different than what?
Well, that's a question that you just posed. Now I throw it right back at you.
I know. Then you confused me.
If you wanted to go up to that girl and say, "Hey, what are you doing? You're looking great. What are you doing that helps you, look so great?" As if appearance matters, because it clearly does to her. But you wanted to know what this girl was doing because you posed that question.
Yeah.
Okay, what's this girl doing?
Yeah.
So how would you ask that question of that
I
girl?
don't know.
How would you feel if someone asked you that same question? That's why I just threw it back at you and you acted confused. So
Yeah, that's probably what she'd do. She'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
But clearly she's been doing some work.
Yeah.
Because if people are fixed to not attraction, but your appearance, you're looking great. Well, was I fat before? No, you don't look at it that way. You just say, okay, well, thank you for noticing. Because people that I haven't seen in a while have commented to me.
Of course.
Like Sunday when we went up to the Mushroom Festival at McLeod, one of the guys up there from the Forest Service, I knew him. I worked with him in Reading.
Uh-huh.
His name is Joe. I don't need to get into his last name.
Right.
But he moved. He's now working up there in McLeod at the Ranger District up there. And he says, "Wow, you're looking great. What are you doing different?" And, he noticed the change in my appearance. Okay. And I was not offended. I says, "Well, I've been working on me. Life is absolutely fantastic." I didn't go into great detail, but I acknowledged that he noticed a difference.
Right.
Okay, so if someone came up to you and asked you the same thing, they acknowledged the difference in you, would you be offended or would you be kind of proud that someone had noticed? Question mark.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you, yes.
I'd probably say I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I guess I don't want to beat the dead horse.
No.
Because you wondered how you would ask this girl the same question. You're wondering what she's doing to look like this,
Right.
the way she does. And you're just saying you wouldn't ask her?
Probably not.
Okay.
It just doesn't feel comfortable to me.
Okay. Well, I guess if we're...
Guys and girls are different.
Yeah, clearly. I get that. Okay, so I guess we need to back out of that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I was trying to make a point.
We'll make a point.
I did.
Good.
And it met with a dead end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But anyway, so sharing what we're doing with other people. People are listening to this podcast voluntarily, but your position is we shouldn't impose that upon other people, and I'm saying that's not imposing when you're just sharing it. If they want a piece of pie, great. If they don't, that's okay too. But at least we offered.
That's right.
That would be my position. So do we need to beat it anymore, or do you want to call this a podcast?
47 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can call it a podcast.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about or bring up?
Not really. I just think it's important for I guess me to kind of think about what you were saying and figure out what that might look like. I think one of the reasons why I struggle with the question is because that question would go to someone that looks like they've been doing amazing things. And when you posed it to me, I don't feel like I look like that. So it kind of throws my brain into a tailspin. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, why would anybody ask me that question? like, I don't know, it twists it enough for me to not be able to understand why anybody would ask me that question, besides the fact that I'm just a happy person and I throw good vibes and I'm a good person inside. It's not what I look like physically. So no one would look at me physically and say, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing? You look amazing." That's not how people approach me. People approach me like differently than that. I don't have the big physical difference in my appearance like you do.
Well, how do they approach you then?
Nothing like that.
Okay. How do they approach you
They
then?
don't.
Nobody says anything at all?
No.
I find that to be amazing. That nobody said anything.
No. Nobody has said a word.
Wow. Okay. That's eye-opening to me. I've noticed changes in you, and I see you every day.
Yeah, so that's why you're getting a dead end with that, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because that's not once has that come up in the year. The only thing that comes up in the year is that I feel a difference in how I think. That cannot be seen. It can only be heard. Does that make sense? So doing the mindset work is more important than anything else for me as I begin this journey. It may take me a whole nother year to get to where I want to be physically because I'm doing the discipline. But it's taking me more time due to other factors that are involved, like hormones and, health being so important. But hormones are definitely involved with what I have going on. It's not just weight loss. It's not just looking better. It's feeling better. It's thinking healthier. It's being my own best friend, if you will. So I guess that's how I would want to end the podcast. And that is the whole point of the work that I am doing. It has to do with the way I think.
I wholeheartedly agree. That is the primary approach. Everything else will happen automatically. It may be a delayed response. But, for example, and you rolled your eyes at this just the other day, when I come up to a cashier, I'm checking out at a restaurant or a grocery store or whatever, they say, "Hey, how you going? How you doing? How's it going?" Whatever the greeting is, I say, "Wow, I'm doing fantastic. If I was any better, I'd have to come with a warning label." And you rolled your eyes at that. And that's how I feel. That's literally how I feel. If I was any better, I would have to charge admission. That's another thing I said. And you kind of rolled your eyes at that. But that's how I feel. That's the confidence coming out because of the changes that I've made on the inside. And once you make the changes on the inside, you've heard this before, the outside will follow. It is a follower. It's not a leader. It will happen. It will, maybe dragging its butt down the street and hear this, that's your butt dragging, but it will follow. Sure, it is easier for men to pack on weight and pack on muscle and lose weight. Yeah, that's physiology, and there's no real getting around that. It's tougher for women, absolutely. But the mindset is what I feel, and I feel that it radiates out from the inside towards the outside. And because I feel so much better and I'm so much happier and I'm in a whole lot more in charge of my thoughts and my emotions, and how I deal with stressors as they come at me, and I get the feeling that I want to share that it's like a legal drug that doesn't cost anything. Here, have some of this. Try some of this. No? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you want to try some? Great, I'll show you how. I got this toolbox I pack around with me all the time. And we just talked about some of these tools in this podcast and virtually every one that we've done so far. I have this big old box of tools that I pack around, and I'm getting more and more tools in there, and they're not getting rusty. They're getting shiny from use. They're not wearing out, and they're getting stronger and they're getting better. And that's the reason that I feel that it's important to share. I guess that's the end. Might be able to hear the cat purring. He's on my lap.
Well, honey, well, on that note, I hope you have a great week. We're going to get ready to travel.
That's Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next podcast next Sunday, next Sunday will be from the island of Kauai.
Yep.
And we still intend to publish either Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, whenever we feel like it, because we're on vacation.
Yep.
And we're planning ahead so we can actually have the technical capability of getting it done.
Yep. Without taking all our equipment.
Without taking a whole lot of 30 pounds of gear.
Yeah. All right, honey.
All right. Thank you very much, people, for listening.
Yes.
Love you, sweetie.
Love you too.
Thank you for listening. We are not doctors, professionals, blah, 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 all the legal stuff. But we just like to talk.
And share.
And share.
All right. Have a great week.
Love you, sweetie.
Love you too, honey.
Bye.